With Canadians paying amongst the highest rates in the world for cell service, it's long seemed like the mobile industry was ripe for a shakeup. And that was just what Anthony Lacavera hoped to do when he helped found Win Mobile almost a decade ago. But disrupting big telecom was not to be, and the reasons why helped inspire his new book on business and innovation. Written with Kate Fillion, it's called How We Can Win and What Happens to Us and Our Country If We Don't. Anthony Lacavera is the CEO of Globalive, and he joins us now for more. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Not at all. Thanks for coming in. What is your diagnosis for the current state of entrepreneurship in Canada?
My diagnosis is that there is tremendous potential that we are just not capitalizing on. We've got all the underlying tools and infrastructure in the form of great education, great healthcare, a strong social safety net, really strong democratic institutions, and we just don't leverage all of that to build great global companies that win globally. And this book is about how we can do that.
You've started a conversation on that, and we'll go into the whys behind it. Let's do an excerpt from the book to kickstart our conversation here. We're known for maple syrup, but we could also be known for machine learning. One of the reasons we're not is that a lot of us are simply unaware of our country's track record in terms of innovation. Many of us can easily name at least a dozen internationally famous actors, athletes, and musicians who are Canadian. Very few of us could, without the assistance of Google, come up with a list of a dozen names of internationally famous scientists, entrepreneurs, and business people who are Canadian. Why can't we do that?
This is really a central theme of our challenge. We do not celebrate our successes. And that modesty that we have, that we actually hold dear as Canadians to say, we are not like our loud and proud neighbors to the south. That modesty that costs us a lot in terms of global success and prominence. And so we've got to balance what we love about being Canadian in that modesty with celebrating our success. And it goes beyond just us not being able to name successful Canadian leaders and scientists. It goes even further beyond that. We don't even realize what we have innovated that has been transformational that we never even got credit for. And the example I use in the book is the light bulb, which everyone believes Thomas Edison invented, but it was not Thomas Edison. It was two Canadians, Henry Woodwards and Matthew Evans, a medical student at U of T and an innkeeper in downtown Toronto in the late 1870s. They invented the incandescent bulb. But do you think any Canadians know that? I mean, a handful of Canadians know that.
So who should be on that list? Give me three names that ought to be on the list today that we should know.
Well, we all should know Henry Woodward and Matthew Evans for sure, because they invented a transformational technology. The engineers that invented the Avro Arrow. Many Canadians know about the Avro Arrow. None know the scientists that were behind it. Many of the entrepreneurs that I profile in the book, Joelle Faulkner, whose Area 1 Farms is transforming the agriculture industry, which is so important to Canada. Molly Shoykat, who's got a leading world-recognized position in stem cell research. There's so many great Canadian success stories that we talk about in this book and profile that really, people always say when they read the book and they say to me, I had no idea there were so many successful Canadian leaders out there.
Well, your name might have been on the list once upon a time, as you, because I want to take you back here. You were certainly making a good faith effort to break up, I guess, what you would describe as the monopoly of big cell service in this country. So take us back a decade. What was cell service like back then here?
Well, back in 2007, Steve, we had some of the highest prices in the OECD. We had some of the lowest customer satisfaction levels, and it was sort of a market that was dominated by Bell, Telus, and Rogers. Still today is dominated by Bell, Telus, and Rogers, and they sort of have roughly equal market share. And so it's literally a perfect oligopoly of market dominance and control.
And what did you want to do to that oligopoly?
I felt like adding a fourth carrier into that mix would do what it had done in so many other markets around the world. Prices would come down and customer service levels would go up. Not just because we were some extraordinary company. Of course, I wanted to build a great company, but it was because it forced the incumbent, dominant big three players to sort of pull up their socks and start performing better, which they did do. And prices came down while Win Mobile was in the market. Prices came down 21% in all 28 English-speaking markets we were operating in.
Now, naturally, they didn't roll out the welcome mat for you to get in. They certainly did everything they could do, including testifying at the CRTC to prevent you from being a player. How did the rest of the country welcome or not your entry into the field?
You know, it's amazing. I tell the story, and it's one of the challenges we have in the book, is Canadians do not demand enough from their big service providers like telecoms or banks or anything. And the example I use in the book is at the same time we were trying to start up wind, there was a wireless auction going on in the United States as well to create a new license in the United States. 250,000 Americans wrote into their elected officials to say, we want more competition in wireless. Guess how many Canadians wrote into our elected officials? Well, by population, if 250,000 Americans did it,
should be 25,000 here.
25,000, right?
Yeah.
Exactly 4 people
now, why
wrote
is that?
to our elected officials.
How come?
Because we do not demand enough from our big companies. They're not forced to be competitive, and so they can't compete on the global stage, so they rely on regulation to protect them domestically.
Some people and we're talking the Conservative government of the day now, the Stephen Harper government, some people in that government liked what you were about and were supportive.
Yes.
Did you get enough support, though?
I think that there was a lot of political will in the early going, but the implementation was disastrous. And so all of the things that we needed to build a real competitor, not only did the big 3 put up barriers at every step of the way, which, I mean, they're well-run businesses, you'd expect them to put up some barriers. They want to limit the amount of competition, of course, that any good CEO and leadership team would. But the government needed to enforce the rules that they had laid the groundwork for. And that involved giving us access to spectrum. Wireless spectrum is sort of the real estate of the wireless industry, frequencies, giving us access to existing tower infrastructure so that we wouldn't have to go through all the environmental processes of building a bunch of new towers, which are just ugly. Canadians don't want to see more towers in their backyard. So we did end up having to build essentially all of our own sites because sharing was just not successful. And then roaming. They had a 30-year head start, so we needed to have some access to their network in the early going just to get ourselves up to speed. And all those things were mandated by the Harper government. None of it really effectively implemented.
But ideologically, you would think that a Conservative government, which is pro-consumer, in favor of more choice in the marketplace, in favor of sort of letting a thousand flowers bloom in the marketplace, you would think they would be all too happy to sort of encourage and enable you to get going. Didn't work out that way, eh?
I think that they were very much wanting to see it be successful, and I think that there was great momentum, but we ran into all kinds of other regulatory difficulties that really caused, in the end of the day, my investor group to get kicked out of Canada. And as part of what I talk about in the book is that we really need to think about how we are perceived on the global stage, because we're a small country. Now, we've got 0.5% of the world population at 35 million people. We've got less than 2% of world GDP. I mean, we're a small country. We need to be an exporting country long term. We need to build trade relationships long term to be prosperous and maintain that social safety net and education system and healthcare system that we love. That's expensive. We got to fund it. And so really, when we caused, in the telecom industry, in my example, a foreign investor to essentially be kicked out of our country, it costs us untold opportunities down the road because people around the world say, you know what, Canada's not really a great place to invest.
You're referring to the fellow from Egypt here?
Yeah, exactly. Naguib Sawiris was the initial investor that I brought into Canada and wind, and he was very vocal about his dissatisfaction with the government's implementation of the policies that we at Starting Wind relied on to be successful.
Let's amplify on that. Here's you in the book. The Canadian economy is dominated by oligopolies, startups that seek to break in, reach a certain size, then stall. This is a severe problem in a global economy because, for the most part, the companies that make up those oligopolies are unheard of outside our borders. They aren't industry leaders. They don't connect us to global supply chains. To the rest of the world, they're irrelevant. But here at home, they're all too relevant, ensuring that consumers are gouged, innovation is severely constrained, and Canada falls further and further behind countries where competition is promoted and ambition is not a dirty word. You know, there is something about the Canadian character that mistrusts unbridled ambition. You ran into this, didn't you, in your own situation?
Tall poppy syndrome.
It's been there for 150 years.
It
And
goes back to our roots as a British colony.
Yeah.
It really is. If anyone gets too big or too ambitious or too successful, we almost relish in their downfall. I mean, we relished in the downfall of RIM. This is a really important, great, globally dominant company, started right here in Southern Ontario. And I had at one point a #1 leadership position in the world in the business they were in.
it's probably our biggest brand in the whole world.
Absolutely, probably. And Nortel is another example where Canadians. So we need to stop celebrating failures like that and relishing in it and cutting down people that are ambitious. We need to celebrate those people. And the good news is there are so many great Canadian success stories. We don't have to give up what we hold dear in terms of our modesty and our decency and our sort of like belief that everything is good. All those things are things we hold dear. We have to hold on to those, but we can still dominate globally and go out and play to win. And that's what this book is about.
Tell us how it makes sense, though, for us to sort of enjoy this schadenfreude, where we're taking joy in other people's misery, but at the same time, I mean, people love to complain about the big three in the cellular service. We love to complain about Telus, Bell, and Rogers. And yet, there they are. And there they seem destined to be.
Yeah.
Why do we not see a disconnect here?
It's exactly what I'm saying, is that not enough Canadians are vocal about it. And, you know, what's happening right now with the discussions that's going on with respect to tax changes that the current government, the Trudeau government, has proposed, the small business community really rallied together and was very vocal about that over the last 6 months. And you know what? The Trudeau government listened, as any good government would listen. And we'll see what the outcome is. It's still to be seen what they ultimately do. But in the case of competition in wireless, in competition in banking, competition in energy, where we have these oligopolies that really are not constructive to being competitive domestically, which enables us to be competitive globally, all of those sectors, Canadians just aren't vocal about. We just, as you say, we sit around the dinner table and we say, oh yeah, did I ever not like that service I got from Bell the other day? But we don't do anything about it. And so we need to be vocal. And that's the point I make about the Americans, just saying, you know what, I'm not just going to complain around the dinner table. I'm going to write a letter to my local senator, my local congressman, just saying, you know, this is not acceptable.
It may well be that they feel that a letter to their congressman actually will be constructive and pay off at the end of the day. Maybe it's a comment on our political system here that people think if I write my MP, nothing's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, and people do say that to me all the time. They say to me, you know, Anthony, like, no one's going to do anything anyway, so why would I ever bother waste my time to do that? And I say, don't underestimate how important. First of all, most elected officials I've met are very good intentioned, and they do really want to consider all stakeholder input. They really do. And so they do read it, and they do listen, and they do incorporate that into their thinking, in my experience. Does that mean you're going to see radical change overnight? Of course not. But if a bunch of voices come together, as happened in this taxation example with surrounding small business tax changes, there really can be movement, and politicians and people in the bureaucracy that are creating policies alongside politicians do listen.
You were very ambitious. You wanted to build a truly great world-class company.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, you came to the conclusion that you couldn't do it, and you basically, you vacated the space, right?
Well,
you sold the space. You sold wind.
Yeah, and so to be clear, as I say in the book, I consider the outcome of wind a failure. I never would have sold wind. I did not start wind to sell it. I started wind to build a company that would transform the Canadian telecommunications industry, and then I would have exported our expertise globally and acquired wireless companies globally and based my headquarters here permanently in Canada and scaled globally.
At the end of the day, you felt you couldn't do it.
Well, what happened was my investors were essentially kicked out of Canada. Naguib Sawiris, we talked about earlier, was kicked out of Canada, and the business was recapitalized by financial investors. And when a great return opportunity came along, I don't fault them for wanting to capitalize on a great return opportunity, but I certainly did not start it to sell. I was 5 years into a 10-year business plan. As I said, prices had come down 21% in all 28 English-speaking markets. The Wind brand was the fastest growing carrier in Canada. Hey, we were on a roll, and I never would have sold it.
You made money.
Yes, I did.
You made a lot of money.
By most measurements, yes, I did.
You want to say how much?
No, I don't.
Well, the reason I ask is because you say, you've just said it a couple of times on the program here, you thought the whole thing at the end of the day was a failure.
Yeah.
And yet you walked away, with a very nice profit in your pocket.
Yeah. Look, I think as with most entrepreneurs, most entrepreneurs that I've experienced, and I invest in, I've met hundreds of founders around the world. I have 45 venture investments in my portfolio. Not a lot of founders. Most successful founders start out with two things in mind. One, I want to build a successful business, and that means I have to make profits. I want to be able to expand my business, and that means I need to have a profitable business model. That's certainly top of mind. But also, they always have a mission, a goal, an objective, some long-term vision of how things can be better than they are today. And for me, that was the part that was absolutely a failure for Wind, because as soon as Wind was sold back into the oligopoly, prices in Canada went back up and customer service levels went back down. So I did not have a lasting impact.
Did you come away from the experience with any better understanding of what What will lead to entrepreneurial success in Canada?
I think there's a few things on that. I think for one is we have to start celebrating our successes. And when there's a new success, we got to really celebrate it. We can walk outside here in downtown Toronto and ask, and Canadians will know Mark Zuckerberg, they'll know Larry Page, they'll know Elon Musk. They won't know successful Canadians like Jim Balsillie or other great Canadian leaders, past and present. They just won't to anywhere near the same extent. That's a big issue. The second big thing is we need to sort of shed the mindset we have that we need to everyone have a really fair shot. We need to double down on winners. And so when an emerging company has proven a profitable business model, a successful business model, we need to ensure that company stays here in Canada and scales here in Canada. And so that means picking winners. And that is a distinctly un-Canadian thing to do.
It means picking winners by who? Who picks winners?
The private sector is going to initially pick a winner and invest in it, and then government needs to double down on that company. The same way it happens in Israel and Scandinavian countries. Countries that are smaller than us set out to dominate a sector, and they dominate it. And we've got leadership positions already in Canada in automotive and energy and financial services. Our banks are among the strongest in the world. Our automotive industry is among the strongest in the world. Our energy business is among the strongest in the world. We need to leverage those leadership positions and export globally and dominate globally.
But one of the things you've told us here is that you set out not just to build a profitable company, but to change the world. That was the mission. The mission actually was to change the world. You tell us in the book that actually there aren't very many Canadians who set out to do that. They don't aspire to change the world.
You're absolutely right.
Why not?
Well, that gets me to the third and probably biggest issue, which is our ambition challenge, our mindset challenge. All of our issues surround mindset, really. We just are satisfied with being third or fourth or fifth place in business.
Not in hockey.
As I've said a couple of times, in hockey, we go out and we expect to win.
Yeah.
We're disappointed if we don't win. It doesn't matter we're playing the United States, 10 times our size, so much more resources. We expect to win. We need to bring that same ambition, that same mindset to win to our business culture.
What will that take?
A number of things. I talk about shedding that egalitarian mindset and betting on winners and helping winners really scale and win globally. Going for the number one slot in any market. In automotive, instead of assembling cars for all these foreign multinationals, we build a Canadian car, an autonomous hybrid electric Canadian car that we export globally that becomes a globally leading automotive venture.
So we're the leaders, not the branch plant.
Why be the branch plant? Right. We have all of the tools and capabilities, I said at the top of the conversation. The beautiful thing about the research in this book, Steve, is I learned that Canada has all the tools here already. The bad news is we don't capitalize on it.
Well, let's continue the conversation. We're going to get some others to join us, and we thank you for getting it started. How We Can Win is the name of Anthony Lacavera's book, and stay tuned, sit tight, we'll bring some others in and continue the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.